Welcome back. It's episode 3 of the Hopeless Fan podcast. It's Shelby, it's Scotty, it's Zach, although his name's Urkelgrew on the chat. But Zach's here producing. Scotty and I are going to get into some things. We got plenty of stuff for you guys tonight. Thursday night football reaction. We're going to do a new segment called The Great Debate. Do the NFL shuffle. LeBron's going to be in the news. Are this hit different? Fantasy football stereotypes is going to be a good one. And then we have our San Diego Chargers tweet about taking your wife to P.F. Chang's, a taste review of the new chicken sandwich that's sweeping the nation, and that just kind of blew up.
Oh, it's so good.
That just kind of blew up.
It's so good.
Yeah, that just blew up. Free marketing for them. But how you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. I just had a chicken sandwich that you guys will listen to later. It's so damn good. You guys are going to want to stick around for that at the end of the pod. Zach wasn't able to have one, but Zach, how are you feeling tonight despite not being able to have the greatest chicken sandwich in the world?
Can you eat yet?
Yeah. Upset that they was sold out, but you know what? I'm just gonna wait. The line looked pretty intimidating as it is, so I'm glad I found out before I made it all the way to the microphone that it was sold out.
They were probably lying to you. Like whoever told you, we were probably just lying. Like who stays in that line if they're already sold out?
It was an employee that came out and he's like, "Hey guys, if you're waiting in line for the sandwich, we're out." I'm sure he had to come out like every 15 minutes and tell people like, "Hey, if you're waiting for the sandwich, we don't have it."
Yeah, poor dude.
Well, he's probably just trying to make his job easier.
Right, poor dude making like minimum wage, and he's like, "Hey, Tim, go tell all the customers that only came for this sandwich that we're out of them, and they gotta go home. Come back tomorrow when you have to
That's
be
what
here."
I'm saying.
Yeah. But we'll get into our Thursday night football reaction, guys. And I know Scotty's a big on this guy. He opened me to him. It's Trace McSorley, the Ravens' easiest preseason bet. If you haven't laid money down on the Ravens yet in the preseason, I can't help you anymore. Reminding you week for week. Zach, tell me how Trace McSorley's doing, because Scotty hyped him up at Penn State, and I'm on board.
Let's
Trace.
go.
Yeah, Trace McSorley, 17 for 25, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and a passer rating of 118.
Chugga, 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 choo choo. It's the hype
Zach,
train.
when do you think that he's going to take over for Lamar Jackson during the year?
Hopefully never, but you know what? I'm happy to see that we have two. I don't want to say capable quarterbacks, because with him untested and with RG3 injury prone and hasn't seen that kind of limelight in many years, but two at least tested or talented quarterbacks that are waiting in the wings in case something does happen with Lamar. There are worse situations to be in.
Yeah, I think he might listen to the pod, because I bashed him. I said you could run Madden punt block on him, and he might go 6 for 16, and he's going off. Go off, kid.
Who's that, Trace?
Trace.
Dude, I think that, John Harbaugh, what an interesting QB room that is, and he might just pull this thing off and like secure his job for the long. I mean, I know he just got an extension, but I mean, there's question marks after an end of an era with Flacco leaving and just an overturn of their play style. And I just think that even if Lamar Jackson doesn't work out, I feel like Trace McSorley, that's the perfect place for him to go, just to stabilize his development, I guess. And I mean, that's. I think that's a really good situation for him. RG3's there too. Man, I don't know. RG3, I think, was probably the odd man out at this point, right?
Oh, he has to be.
I think Trace McSorley could end up being a sort of Tyrod Taylor situation where Tyrod Taylor was with the Ravens for so long and then went elsewhere and found success. Like, I think that could also happen with Trace McSorley.
Well, either way, there's a new episode of This Is the Guy I Didn't Know Was on a New Team Until I Saw His Name in the Preseason, and that's Trey Carson.
Oh, yes.
That's Trey Carson for me. He's on the Packers now.
Trey Carson? Who's Trey
running
Carson?
back that was for the Seahawks.
That's right.
8 for 33 and a tutty tonight for the Packers.
I thought Trey Carson. I thought that was Chris Carson for the Seahawks.
Christine Carson.
Is it?
What?
There's a big Carson.
Yeah,
either way, guys.
There's a Christine Michael.
That's Christine Michael. I think Scotty's got it. It's Chris Carson. So scratch what I said. It's definitely Chris Carson that was on the Seahawks. So
I just know more than both of you.
Okay. But anyway, guys, in that game though with the Packers, Packers up 21-10 at halftime. which means if that's the third preseason game where like your starters play most of the time, then that means even though Aaron Rodgers didn't play, it looks like that means we could be like on the verge of having a really like edgy Hard Knocks episode next Tuesday.
Scotty,
I think that.
I'm sorry, Scotty. I have something that I really need to say in terms of Shelby not knowing who Trey Carson was.
Good God.
Trey Carson spent 2 years with the Bengals, and Shelby still didn't know where he was from.
I just thought it was
That's
the
probably why it
Seahawks
sounds
Carson.
familiar.
Yeah, I thought it was just the Seahawks Carson. I don't know. He never played with the Bengals. Maybe.
Well, there's also a Trey Boston that probably sounds a little bit familiar to Trey Carson, I guess.
Defensive back.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I was saying with Hard Knocks is that we finally get one of these where like it's kind of been all lovey-dovey in the first 2 episodes because the Raiders have played well. And now if they get blown out by the Packers in the black hole, mind you, in the black hole, even in the preseason, you get those hard-nosed coaches. Marvin Lewis was great at this, that they take this game like it's a divisional rival, even though it's just preseason. And that's what I need in Hard Knocks. Is like
Marvin Lewis would save those fiery post games for the preseason, and then the regular season started, and then that just went by the wayside.
Right, but I'm just saying for this scenario, Jay Gruden or John Gruden, I'm all with the names today, but John Gruden is going to be dicey. This is going to be a heated locker room if the Packers just blow the Raiders out.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope the the Hard Knocks episode has some fiery John Gruden. I mean that's what the fans want, right? Is John Gruden just going wild and nuts? I think that he's the personality of the season, really.
Right. And other than that, with the Raiders and the Packers and Trace McSorley going off, this slate of games, I mean, it's just we're inching closer to the NFL season. That's the only way these games are relevant. The only reason it's a segment is just to remind everyone, okay, this is week 3, started today. We're close. 2 weeks from tonight, Packers-Bears. How pumped.
Right. Yeah, well, you mentioned the edginess of I guess the preseason game, but this whole preseason in general has some edge to it because, I mean, there's teams that are starting week 3 of the preseason when usually like this is when your starters play a whole half.
Right.
Well, there's teams like the Rams and the Packers who aren't even playing any of their starters at all. So is this like a message to the NFL? Like we need less preseason games? Or, I mean, I hope so because preseason games, effing suck. But you see less and less of the starters.
Oh, yeah, Scott, you're woke on this.
Oh, I'm woke.
Yeah, because like even with the Bengals, Andy Dalton and the starters played the first quarter. That was it. That's usually if you watch any preseason game, it's going to be the third one. And now it's just a snore fest. So that's really all the time we'll spend on week 3 of the preseason. But I want to get into for your reference. We'll get this out of the way where you can sound smart in front of your friends. We mentioned Hard Knocks a lot on the show, and I think we're all in agreement that the Raiders aren't a playoff team this year.
No, they're not.
Zach?
I'm not going to rule them out.
Just looking for a yes or no.
I'm not going to rule
But
them
anyway, there's been 13 teams on Hard Knocks. Can you guess how many of them have made the playoffs?
2.
I'll go with 3.
All right, 5 have made the playoffs. The 2001 Ravens, the 2009 and 13 Bengals, the 2010 Jets, and the 2015 Houston Texans. I feel like Hard Knocks, maybe they want to get like it'd be cool if the Hard Knocks was they did a Super Bowl champion at the beginning of the year. That's like only a 1 in 32 chance. But now with the Ravens, or not with the Ravens, with the Raiders and the Browns and the Buccaneers the last 3 years, they're just kind of going for ratings and storylines at this point. They're not really going after the better teams. But only 5 of them made the playoffs. The 13 teams combined have gone 98, 109, and 1. So, moral of the story, don't bet on a Hard Knocks team unless it's the Bengals.
Yeah, I didn't know that the Bengals made it twice. That's crazy. I thought it was just the one time. The Texans were interesting because I know the Texans weren't very good, before they were on Hard Knocks. And that's the thing with Hard Knocks. Everyone who goes on Hard Knocks are basically have to because they either don't have a new head coach or they haven't made the playoffs the year before. So usually it's just these dramatic, bad, in purgatory teams. And, you can see it with the Raiders and the Browns, although the Browns were looking up last year.
But that doesn't stop me from talking myself into teams that are on Hard Knocks, though.
No, absolutely not. And that's why Louis Riddick on ESPN is definitely talking himself into the Raiders making the playoffs and being a wild card team. He says that he believes in every aspect of the Raiders. And I know Stephen A said it best, I think, on a segment I listened to earlier. He said he's spending too much time out in wine country with the Raiders. He's sipping too much of that sheesh.
Yeah, you can get lost in the sheesh out there. Trust me. No shame. But that was for your reference. But Scotty, you have kind of a for your reference, a mind blowing one because you told it to us off air.
Yeah, so my for your reference is $23.25 million, which is the equivalent ad value in media mentions for Popeyes Chicken Sandwich in the first 11 days when you combine from digital, newsprint, radio, TV, and social, according to Apex Marketing.
Wow.
Isn't that insane? I mean, that's just free marketing that they're getting because people are going crazy over it and comparing them to Chick-fil-A over one sandwich.
Who should get that money is like the first person that started it. Like retrace everything to who first went on there and was like, hey, this smacks.
I agree. And how do you think the person who really started it feels? Who really feels like I'm the one that made this a national thing? He's probably like screaming in his own head.
Zach's brother?
Right. Exactly. So apparently Zach's brother's been eating as you'll listen to later, he's been eating the chicken sandwich for weeks before it became a national attention. And of course, there's always that person that was like, oh, I used to have it like every single day before it became popular. But Zach's brother is apparently one of them.
Yeah, of course it's Zach's brother. I'm sure I'm sure he just had it for lunch every day and was just trying to get the word out.
Exactly.
But anyway, we'll shift back. Once again, you guys got to stay tuned to the end of this episode where we try that chicken sandwich on air, except for Zach. But we'll go into our NFL shuffle, and we do this on Thursdays, where you guys pick a random number of an NFL team, and then you got to answer a prompt about them. This week, you guys are going to pick a team, going to give me a reason that fans should be optimistic about this team and pessimistic about this team, and then we're going to do a second prompt where we can brainstorm some of the heartbreaking losses because, going through teams you wouldn't think – it was kind of like this with the fantasy bus that you had from this team. So you don't remember them until it's like offered to you and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember this game, remember that player. So we'll go into that. And Scotty, Zach, you've been quiet, actually. We'll start with you. Give me a number between 1 through 32, and you give me a reason to be optimistic and pessimistic about this team.
27.
27. You, my good friend, are going to break down the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, man, a gold mine of opportunities to be pessimistic, mostly, but also a little bit to be optimistic in recent history.
I think you got that flipped.
I hope so. As a Ravens fan, I truly hope so. I hope it's all right. So, to be pessimistic definitely has to be it's Cleveland. It's the city of Cleveland. Right. It's the Browns. It's the second iteration of a team, and they still can't get it right. So that speaks unto itself. Reason to be optimistic. I'm not going to go with the obvious, with Baker, new coach.
Good. Don't.
OBJ. I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with their defense, and particularly their middle of the field defense. So everyone likes to talk about that defensive front that they have with the pickup from the Patriots and Myles Garrett. Everyone likes to talk about their defensive backfield too with that kid out of Michigan. What's his name? I can't even remember his name, and I hate him. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? What's his name?
Are you talking about Jabril Peppers?
Yeah. He was traded for OBJ.
Yeah, that's right. See, pushed him out of my mind. So anyway,
wasn't Jamie Collins also not on the team anymore? The pickup from the Patriots.
Shelby would have to fact check me on that one.
Oh, Jamie Collins, no idea.
Anyways,
Jamie Collins is no longer on the Browns.
All right. So, anyways, I think that the key for the Browns this year is going to be their linebackers, and in particular, their inside, outside, and middle linebackers. That's the reason for me to be optimistic, and also their backfield. Everyone likes to talk about Nick Chubb. They're going to get Kareem Hunt later. I think that's going to be a difference maker as well. And we don't know what this offensive line is going to look like in tandem with that backfield. So those are, I think, for me, the reasons to be optimistic for the Browns.
Okay, good answer, Zach. Very, very in-depth.
That was good. Insightful.
Very insightful. Scotty, give me a less insightful, more funny answer.
21.
21. You were going to break down the Houston Texans.
Man, you mean the team with Michael Jordan at QB, the Michael Jordan of quarterbacks, and you need a reason to be optimistic.
True.
I mean, the Clemson national championship winner is the reason to be optimistic. In a league looking for prime franchise quarterbacks, the Texans have one, and that's all you need. That's all you need to be optimistic in the NFL. Is the quarterback is locked down. The reason to be pessimistic, his playoff game was shit, and I mean, case closed.
Yeah, Houston likes to play on that Saturday early game and like just get outplayed for 3 quarters, come back for like
Lay
7
eggs.
minutes, and then throw a pick at the end that just derails them.
Yeah, what did didn't they lose to the Texans a couple of years ago, like 30-0?
Didn't the Texans lose to the Texans a couple years ago? Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Yeah, 30-0 in 2015. That was Brian Hoyer starting for the Texans.
Oh, that's perfect.
Right. All right, Scotty, give me a number.
All right, Shelby, go ahead and do 12. Please be the Broncos.
Minnesota Vikings.
Damn it.
Reason to be optimistic. Same reason to be pessimistic is Kirk Cousins. Yeah, obviously you start with the quarterback, and it's can he beat a winning team? And will he just avoid those games where, week 2 he looks like an all-pro god, like he's worth the money that he made because of Sean McVay? Is he worth that money? He looks like it in week 2 against the Packers in that game that ends in a tie at Lambeau Field. He made an incredible throw to Adam Thielen right at the pylon for a touchdown. Helped that game get in overtime where they tied. Next week, they're 17-point favorites against an 0-2 Minnesota Vikings team. And Josh Allen, a
Buffalo
rookie.
Bills.
That's what I meant. Thank you. Josh Allen comes in a rookie in, I would say, his second road start. Did he even start week 1 against the Ravens? I'm going to say his first ever road start, and just dominates the Vikings in that defense that Mike Zimmer was so prideful. And is Kirk Cousins going to turn back into a pumpkin after a few games against a couple of bottom feeders? But when he gets into like that Seattle game, that Monday night game, he was just dreadful in it. And Russell Wilson wasn't even much better, but he ended up winning the game. So you pessimistic about Kirk Cousins, but you're optimistic about Kirk Cousins because you always think that multi-million-dollar guy is going to turn a corner at some point.
Yeah, well, you also got to trace back to remember the game he had against the Rams? I'm pretty sure the Rams pulled that game out, but
great Thursday night game, September 27th, 2018.
Yeah, that was a good game. I mean, Kirk Cousins is that dude. You never know what you're gonna get. I think that he's like Matthew Stafford reincarnated.
Right, and good stat check by Zach. Josh Allen did not start week 1 at Baltimore, so Josh Allen, his first road start ever, beats Kirk Cousins as a 17-point underdog. Thank you, Zach.
That's tough.
That's a tough look. But on the record, Scotty was all in on John DeFilippo being the next Broncos head coach.
I still hope he is in one day. No, I don't. I take that back. Fangio for life. I hope Dave Filippo will be a head coach somewhere.
All right. Well, is he in Jacksonville now with Nick Foles?
Yeah, perfect dude to mentor Nick Foles.
Ooh, just don't think it's happening. All right, Scotty, you're going to start it with the heartbreaking losses. Are you ready?
Please, yes.
Give me a number. Oh, you want me to give you a number? I've looked at these.
Yeah, but you wrote them. Just give it to me off the top of your head. Don't look at the paper.
All right. 19. Right. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh, most heartbreaking loss?
I have mine ready.
Oh, my God. It's got to be against Tebow, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be. I mean, the Tebow game was the best win as a Broncos fan ever, and that had to have been demoralizing as a Steelers fan to just be owned.
Right, and then your starting safety can't play because he can't breathe, and then Tim Tebow can't throw a spiral, and he hits Demaryius Thomas perfectly for a touchdown.
Yeah,
because you knew Denver was going to get smacked the next week. I think they went to New England, right?
Yeah, they got smacked. I mean, they got slapped next week against the Patriots, 42-10 or 17 or something crazy.
My other one for the Steelers that I had, the David Garrard 4th and 2 run game.
Oh my God, yeah, that was a great game. That's a good one.
That's another game. The winner goes to New England to play the undefeated Patriots, and David Garrard, you would never expect him to run ever. The slowest quarterback ever. Underrated quarterback, I will say. 4th and 2, he just takes off, and it's just you see in unison every yellow towel just come down from the sky. Because the game was over for a second, and then David Garrard puts him in field goal position for Josh Scobie to kick the game winner, who ended up being awful for the Steelers in 2015.
Yeah, you know what? If the Bengals would have pulled it out in 2015, then
Yeah.
that probably would be a heartbreaking. That would probably be up there. I mean, we all know your stance on this. I mean, our listeners might not, but the stance, here in Cincy is, the Bengals got robbed of that game, and I'm pretty sure the Steelers giving up a 15-0 lead, that would probably be up there in heartbreaking losses.
Right.
So close but no cigar losses would be for that category.
Yeah, definitely like a best of the rest type category. Would you put that Bengals game if it went the other way?
Exactly.
All right, Zach, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Give me a number.
18.
You have the Dallas Cowboys. I have my heartbreaking loss for them, but I want to hear yours. Off the top of your head, what can you think of?
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to go with the one where Tony Romo was the placeholder for whatever reason in that playoff
Oh,
game.
that's Seattle. I didn't even think of that. That's tough.
That one is tough.
That's a good one.
Tough.
Yeah, could you get over that if you were a fan thinking you have that wrapped up with like an extra point?
I mean, Romo started that game. Like, why the hell was he holding the ball for the extra point? Like, that's ridiculous.
That's what makes it the heartbreaker. Not so much the situation itself, but the fact that somebody who doesn't have the same experience as a regular placeholder was there for God knows why.
Well, I think Romo, maybe as a backup, maybe did it beforehand. I don't know, but I think imagine if he would have ran in and for the 2-point conversion.
That's why I think heartbreaking, because not only did he bobble the snap, for a second there he's walking into the end zone.
Yeah.
Who cares? And then Jason Babineau trips him up. That's tough.
Tough take.
I was going to say for the Cowboys was the 2016 divisional round against the Packers when Aaron Rodgers made that throw and Mason Crosby kicked those 2 field goals that like barely went in, and Skip Bayless kept tweeting.
Oh my God! What about the Des Cottick game?
That sideline.
Oh, the Des Cottick game. Jared Cook caught that ball, Zach. But that was an unbelievable throw by Rodgers. Yeah, unbelievable throw by Rodgers. And then Skip Bayless said, like, I know 12 quarterbacks in the NFL that could make that throw. And I'm like, no way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like third and 20-something. But I think Scotty just nailed it. Because Scotty just out of the blue completely forgot about this game, too, to go to the NFC Championship game, the Des Cottick game. Because that's I think that should be a touchdown. That's a catch.
Yeah, I agree. I think I thought that's what you were talking about at first. And then I realized, wow, the Packers and Cowboys of the late 2000, the 2000 teens games in the playoffs have been crazy good.
Yeah, that goes all the way back to like the Ice Bowl with the Bart Starr sneak.
Right.
Like that's a good rivalry.
Yeah. What's that famous social media picture from this last year, maybe a couple years ago, where it's like Green Bay fan in the Dallas stands and like everyone's cheering behind him. He's like, LOL, they cheering and there's still 1:22 left.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's got like the Snapchat filter. It says like 1:35 left, like Cowboys up by 1.
Yeah, he's like, LOL, they cheering. Aaron Rodgers coming back.
Yeah, he's like, LOL, they celebrate.
And then the Packers drove right down to win the game to Devontae Adams in the corner of the end zone. That was perfect.
Yeah. Oh, that was the Devontae Adams in the corner game?
Yeah, that was either last year or a couple years ago.
That 2017 regular season. I just like binge watch all of the Amazon All or Nothing series. So yeah, that was 2017 regular season.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Zach, give me a number.
I'm just gonna say I hope it's the Packers because of the Larry Fitzgerald catch in the playoffs a few years ago. But I'm gonna go with 14.
Number 14 is the Carolina Panthers. That's kind of tough. I mean, obviously
tough.
when you lose a Super Bowl, but that was the most boring Super Bowl ever, and it was like I never thought the Panthers were going to win that.
I mean, I don't know. It wasn't a boring Super Bowl.
How many games did Peyton Manning lose that year?
Shelby, I'm thinking about another Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Patriots
Super Bowl. That was like one of the best Super Bowls ever.
That was one of the best Super Bowls ever, and it's so overlooked, and I don't know why.
I know, right?
And the nip slip, guys. You can't forget the nip slip.
Right. Yeah, that's why it might be overlooked. But Jake Delhomme was going off on the Henny in that game.
Off on the Henny. No, I thought the nip slip game, though, was the Rams game. I'm fact-checking you boys all over the place.
No, it's the Panthers.
It is, because it was outside, and the Rams Patriots was inside.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but overlooked because of the nip slip by Janet Jackson. But that was such a good game. Musa Muhammad was going off, and was Steve Smith. Steve Smith played in that
Yeah,
game. Had a long touchdown.
Steve Smith scored that double OT touchdown against the Rams in the playoffs that year, right? To go to the Super Bowl against or it took them to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's very good because that Super Bowl it gets overlooked. But if you watch the mic'd up of that Super Bowl, Jake Delhomme is a god.
Is he?
He's like trash talking like New England defensive tackles. He like throws an 80-yard touchdown to Musa Muhammad, and then he's like in the face of all these Patriots defensive linemen, and like no one's backing him up.
Is there any player that developed more of a noodle arm than Jake Delhomme at the end of his career?
Peyton Manning.
That's not fair.
Peyton Manning.
I don't think that's fair.
How is that not fair? He couldn't throw the ball.
You can't say that. You can't say that about the greatest of all time.
No, you're mad that I'm right. That's the
I
problem.
am kind of mad that you're right.
Oh, I like that. There's so many heartbreaking losses that you just.
I know. This is a fun segment.
Yeah, you want to do one more number?
I do. I really do,
right.
actually.
Yeah. Okay, Zach, give us one more number, and Scotty and I can discuss.
7.
Lucky number 7 is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh man.
Last year's AFC
a couple
Championship.
years ago. How about the Steelers game from a couple years ago?
Steelers game, the Titans game, last year's Patriots game.
Last 3 years in a row.
Wasn't a hold in that Steelers game, by the way.
Was not a hold in the Steelers game. I think it was James Harrison just slipped. And then last year, if you're an offsides penalty away from going to the Super Bowl, that's tough.
That is tough. Well, it's also, I mean, I don't give the Chiefs any breaks because they also could have stopped Tom Brady 3 different times on 3rd and 10 or 3rd and long.
Absolutely.
And they couldn't. So, I mean, that's just the defense's fault right there. I think that, I mean, it's the same story when they played the Steelers. They had the game, or they would have had a chance at least to get the ball back and maybe kick a field goal had they, stopped the Steelers at the end of the game when it was 3rd and 16. I mean,
right.
I mean, how do you not? They just are not. Their defense is just not clutch, and they didn't do anything to help it in the offseason. And it would be so funny and hilarious for it to go back to the playoffs and for them to lose in similar fashion.
Yeah, and like, there's a lot from like just these past years that we already discussed. But then you go back to like the 90s when they had Joe Montana.
Right. Yeah.
And could not win. That was blanking on the coach, Marty Schottenheimer. Duh. That was Marty Schottenheimer's like his thing. Like he could not win in the playoffs and just got ran out of town everywhere he went. But had Joe Montana, they went to the AFC Championship game in '93, and they only could put up 13 points because Joe Montana got hurt.
It's tough.
He got hurt with them leading the Bills.
Right.
And they ended up losing, and the Bills went to their 4th straight Super Bowl and lost.
What do you say, Vice President Gore? Piss them off and go for 4.
Go for 4.
I love that.
What else is there in that? What's the other chant?
It's
Hey, Buffalo, I got a feeling Buffalo is gonna win the Super Bowl. Best fans in the world.
AFC chance once more. Piss them off and go for 4. That's great, man.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's so good. I kind of wish they would have won one.
I know. How do you lose? Okay, that's a different discussion, but how the fuck do you lose 4?
You guys didn't pick number 9. That was the Bills. But anyway, now we'll go to Great Debate. It's a new segment. It's where Zach gives Scotty and I 3 prompts to debate. We took a different side on each of them. And best 2 out of 3. So, Zach, you'll pick a winner after each round. So we might not get to 3. So we'll see how it goes. So, Zach, you have the 3 prompts. Go ahead and go, and you decide who goes first.
I'm going to go Shelby. He knows more about sports and has Rain Man powers. So I'm going to say that, Scotty, you go first in the first one. Shelby, you go first in the second one. And then, Scotty, if it goes to 3, you can go first in the third one.
Sounds good.
All right. So, first one. So, out of the 2 different fan bases in these 2 different time periods, which is the worst? Is it the Browns with this new Baker, OBJ, all this kind of modern Browns hype? Or is it Ohio State being the inaugural college football playoff national championship champions? Scotty, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take OSU here as being the worst fan
What?
base. I don't know, man. I'm an all hater of Cleveland. I will say that if there was a ping pong championship, a ping pong regular season match, even I would root. And one of the dudes was from Cleveland. I'd root against him. I don't like Cleveland. I'm from Cincinnati. That being said, OSU fans are definitely more obnoxious because you know what they are? They're tweeners. I mean, they're people who can't decide or unwilling to like the pro game because they're either egotistical or they don't want to accept that they don't have a team in Columbus. So and also, a lot of them are former Bengals or Browns fans. So I feel like a lot of them, because of all this, this losing that they've had to endure between the Reds, and even between the Bengals, the Browns, and even the Reds, and I guess you could say the Indians. I mean, besides their World Series run, I they don't have a lot to root for. So I would say they're tweeners. They're the most annoying because they don't back it up with any stats and they just root for these boring games in college football. And I can't go to a bar when there's Ohio State playing because it's really, really obnoxious. So I'm just going to go with Ohio State. Shelby, that's my debate. Go ahead, debate it. Don't debate it. You can't, but debate it.
All right, Ezekiel Elliott video too.
Oh my God. Yeah. The Ezekiel, I can't go onto Twitter without seeing the Ezekiel Elliott number 15 jersey running against Alabama every single fall. And as we discussed last podcast, it's the most annoying part of, football's starting is fun, but seeing that video just makes me kind of wish it was spring again.
Yeah. Okay. So good job. I will say that. But obviously I'm taking the Browns here. And it's one simple reason is that this is the first real season to have hope in Cleveland when it comes to the Browns. And they were a sub 500 team last year. They have a quarterback that was under 500 last year against winning teams. He beat the Bengals twice, the Falcons, the Panthers. He did beat the Ravens in a game where there was no touchdowns, and Zach was there. And with the Browns, and the thing is, they're always like this. Even when there's no real hope, like I said, this is the only season they can have hope. But they're always like this, where they sell out every game, and it's almost it's a burden to play them because, Zach, you can attest to this. When you're a Ravens fan, and you probably got this when you were in Cleveland, when you beat the Browns, it's not a big deal because they're the Browns. They're perennial losers, perennial dumpster fires, perennial cellar dwellers. Like, you're supposed to beat them. But if you were to cough up a loss to them, it is the end of the world to Cleveland because they're obnoxious and they bark after every first
That's
down.
true.
They chant, Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. After anything ever happens, they get hype on Johnny Manziel and then pretend like they weren't.
Exactly.
They just replace LeBron James with hype of Brian Hoyer for a year, Hoyer the Destroyer, because he was from Northern Ohio. And now they replace him with Baker Mayfield, and they replace him with J.R. Smith and shirtless. It's just Cleveland in general. They just hop on these guys, and it's just one big madhouse of irrational fandom. And the one year they even sniffed the 500 Mendoza line, it's like they're already crowning themselves Super Bowl champions.
No, and Shelby, I can attest to this too. This was a hard one to debate with you because both of us feel the exact same way about these two fan bases. Neither of us are OSU or Browns fans to kind of debate harder than what it is. But I agree, just living in Ohio, you go to a bar, even if the Browns are 2-9, they will talk mad, stuff to you no matter what, and act like they're, a 9-2 team.
Right, and at one point, it's good that they can sell out a stadium even when they're bad. That's great because Lord knows a bunch of other teams in the NFL wish they had that problem, but it's the fact that they act better than they are and that you're scared to play them, not because in the past years they've been good and they're trotting out Austin Davis at quarterback. You're just mad about if it's even if it's close. It got to the point when they went 1-31. Shout out Huey. When they went 1-31, if you only beat them by like 10, it was a game until the third quarter. It was like, you can't win here. You can't win when you're
Remember
losing.
when the Cubs are really bad and they still sold out every game at Wrigley? It's not that kind of fanship.
Right.
It's the kind of ignorant, like arrogant fanship to where like they'll talk mad, stuff about about your team, just for no reason when they have no room to talk. It's like, what base are you standing? Like, where's your argument coming from? Because it's definitely not from the play of the Browns. But that's just how Browns fans, at least the ones that I've come encountered with, are like.
Yeah, at least with the Cubs were literally called lovable losers because they were just like, let's all go to Wrigley and day drink in the bleachers and forget that our team is 30 games under 500. That's respectable. That's respectful. Cleveland fans go there and just dress up in their Browns, in their dog gear, and bark all afternoon. And like, well, you guys were only up 11 in the fourth quarter. It's like, wow, you guys must really suck because we're pretty bad. But don't you dare say anything bad about us.
Right? They're like, wow, you should feel ashamed that you only beat us by 10 because we're really bad. So they'll like even turn it on themselves. I hate when fans do that. They turn it on themselves and make their own team sound bad. It's like, dude, you're dogging your own team to try to make a point that my team sucks. Like, just be worried about your own team. We got we still got the dub here.
Yeah, they spin zone a 2-10 record with what the point differential was with 8 minutes left in the second.
Exactly. So I think Shelby, I don't know, Zach can be the final say, but I would say Shelby probably won that one because I pretty much agree with all of his points.
Real Cleveland of you there, Scotty.
Yeah, exactly. You personified the spirit of the city of Cleveland.
How about Chicago? Because it was a lovable debate.
Just the short, the short explanation I'm going to get into is here. So what I liked about yours, Scotty, was how you kind of. It's hard for me to agree with you here because obviously I am a huge Ohio State fan, but you kind of highlighted how they don't have anything to be excited about in the state of Ohio other than that. So they kind of leech onto that and they're insufferable about it. And I can relate to that in a way as a Dayton fan, other than the Final Four run. That's all.
Well, it's the thing. So, like it's an easy thing to root for if you're from Ohio because they're so good. Yeah. So like they'll be like.
And it's the whole state too. That's not regional like these other teams where it's the city of Cleveland, it's the city of Cincinnati. It's not regional. It's Ohio State. It's the whole thing. So if you're from the area, you can make claims.
I get it. I just think that professionally, I think you should have a side, and you shouldn't have to be a diehard. But I just think that there's also a lot of people who will like in Cincinnati and in Cleveland who will abandon their pro teams and then root for Ohio State just because they're good, and I think that that's kind of a low blow to do as a fan. But anyway, go on.
And that's what I was saying. That's the thing that I agree with. I agree with you. But the thing that put it over the top with me was how Shelby said that the Browns fans at the games they'll sort of do self-deprecating, which I saw when I was in Cleveland, but also when I was at the last year Ravens Bengals week 2, in front of us there was a group of 3 guys. One was in a Browns jersey, one was in a Patriots jersey, and one was in a Steelers jersey. And the 3 of them all talked so much shit to everyone else. And it was week 2 of last year before Baker had his first start. And the Browns fan was the most annoying of the group. And it's so insufferable in the AFC North and just in general that I have to go with Shelby on this.
That was a good description, Zach. I didn't know you were at that game because Scotty and I were both at that game also.
Yeah, I was there. I bought tickets, 2 tickets to go with my wife, and then she ended up not being able to go, so I went with my coworkers, and it did not end up the way that I wanted.
Hey, Shelby, do you remember when those like Bengals fans were talking mad shit to the one Ravens dude? It actually kind of looked like Zach, like that one Ravens dude right next to us in the row over. So, like, what the hell do we know, really?
Right, but I don't know. Cleveland hits different when it comes to that.
Too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to topic number 2 with Shelby in the lead, and Shelby's going to take the lead on this question. We're going to kind of steer away from sports on this. We're going to go towards more the entertainment side. We're going to argue our favorite Will Ferrell movies, but excluding Step Brothers, because that's obviously easy pick, not going to be entertaining. So we're going to go with your second favorite Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah, that was tough because the first thing that comes to your mind is Step Brothers, but that's a good caveat to have. So I'm going to go, and let me just preface this by saying Scotty and I didn't want to have the same ones, and there are plenty that I wish I could have, like if we could get 3 instead of 2. But anyway, I'm going to go with Anchorman as my first one. Here's my reasoning. Anchorman, so quotable. Milk was a bad choice. You ate the whole wheel of cheese. Yada yada yada. It's so quotable, and it was like the first like kind of its movie. Like the obviously all movies are different with prompts and stuff, but when you look at his other movies, like The Other Guys, it's a police movie investigating something. The Anchorman is like bringing new. It's about a news team, and they all four of them such a great cast. Paul Rudd is hilarious in every Anchorman, even though some of them obviously nothing beats the original. But they have a street fight with Ben Stiller's in it, and then I'm a huge Vince Vaughn fan. He's kind of the what's the name of a bad character? Gosh, what's it called?
Villain?
Yeah, villain. It's something else, but yeah, we'll go with villain. Vince Vaughn, I love him as a villain. His mom's name Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. Take your mom out to a nice seafood restaurant and never call her again. It's just so quotable, and there's a nice dog in it too. And you give extra points to doggos when Baxter's on the screen. Lastly, my second pick is Old School, another quotable movie where it's just a guys joining a frat. I mean, and it's relatable. Obviously, I'm not up there in age yet, but there's those older guys in their 40s, kind of midlife crisis. Maybe they're getting divorced. Maybe their wife's cheating on them. And they kind of just want to be young again, have that second chance in life. And Old School gives them that with hilarity throughout the 2 hours or however long that runs. Vince Vaughn's in that one too. Luke Wilson's great. I just think great cast in both movies. Both of them just laugh out loud funny, especially if you haven't seen them for the first time. And then in Old School, you have You're My Boy Blue just puts that over the top for me. I think that's why I went with You're My Boy Blue is why I went with Old School at number 2 over the other guys.
I like it.
Thank you.
So is it my turn? So is it my turn now? Okay.
Yeah. We'll give it your turn. We won't like we won't dissect each other's picks like we did on the last.
I do like. Well, it's so hard because they're Will Ferrell movies. Like I agree with what you're saying.
Right.
It's just like which
yeah. And I love both of yours.
Oh man, I can't wait. So let me set the scene for you and the listeners. It's late November. Thanksgiving dinner is full in your belly. You sit down with the family. You guys got cookies. You guys are like, man, Christmas is coming up. The college kids are like, I'm going to have a whole month off of school. The high schoolers are like, I'm off for like 2 months. And you sit down and you watch this infamous tradition of a movie, and that's Elf. And that's my first movie for Will Ferrell. I love Elf. How can you not love Elf? It's an instant classic. You watch it every Christmas. It's my favorite Christmas movie. It's the funniest movie, in regards to Christmas. The Night Of with Seth Rogen and Joseph Levitt is also pretty good. Or Joseph Gordon-Levitt is pretty good. But I'm taking Elf. It's so I don't know. I put maple syrups on on my spaghetti, even though I don't. So that's my number one. I hope this, the scene setting is enough. The campaign is my second one though. The campaign is good. It's a good one because, I feel like that was the last movie before Zach Galifianakis stopped being funny. Because The Hangover is where he got his start. And then he kind of, I haven't seen anything that's funny with him, lately or, in the last, at least 5 or 6 years, even with the new Hangover movies, if you include those. But yeah, there's so many quotable moments in the campaign too. It's something that I probably need to watch again. What is you get my son to call you daddy, I fuck your wife. And so, that's probably going to be, so the campaign definitely wins it there for me, but I'm going to take the instant classic Elf and the campaign for my 2.
Okay. Zach, elaborate.
Okay, so this one is really tough for me. So, Shelby, you picked Anchorman, which obviously for me, it's if you think about it, Anchorman was kind of the birth for Steve Carell and my favorite show, The Office, and all the great quotes in that movie. So quotable. It might be arguably the most quotable Will Ferrell movie.
Absolutely,
in my opinion. And then, after that, you kind of lost me a little bit with
Tough. You lost him.
Old School.
you lost me. Yeah, you lost me with old school just a little bit because you left out, the obvious choice for me, myself, and, I might be letting my bias come into this a little bit, but you know what? I make the rules here. You left out the other guys.
Yeah,
and Scotty, you
seriously.
did too. So this strike kind of goes against both of you. But the other guys is by far, in my opinion, his third best. So you know what? Just okay. So those are my issues there, and then so Scotty, I'm gonna have to give this one to you just because the scene that you set, and also Elf is just by far, it's just Christmas, my favorite time of year, and he went with it because we're talking like comedy, raunchy, R-rated, mostly for the most part, comedy movies, and then he comes out of left field with the PG, like one of the very few PG Will Ferrell movies that is also a classic. So that's why I'm gonna have to go with Scotty for this one, which is gonna take us into our tiebreaker, our third round. And I feel like Shelby, he came into this one the favorite. Now he's going to be backpedaling, playing a little bit of defense, which takes us into our final one. This takes us into our final one. Defense wins championships. And Scotty, you get to go first. Go ahead.
Scotty.
Yes, sir.
Good luck. I'm rooting for you.
That really means a lot. And I wouldn't root for me yet because I think you're going to need it after my argument. I'm going to say defense absolutely is the key to winning championships. And I'm going to take you back to just last year. I mean, what was the final score of the Super Bowl? 9-3 or 10-3? I think
13-3.
Was it 13-3? Okay.
Yeah.
So 13-3. And you're coming in with, Tom Brady, who just put up mad points against the Chiefs. Granted, their defense isn't good, but neither was the Rams' defense was middle of the road the whole year last year. And then you have the Rams coming in as one of the best offenses against Kansas City. Again, put up one of the most points. Had one of the best games in the whole NFL last year against the Chiefs, and they both scored over 50 points. Or if not, just south of 50. And I think that, the whole game was defensive, very boring Super Bowl. And unfortunately, that's how it is nowadays. I think you can go back 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I should say, when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. My boys had one of the best defenses in history. If you're asking my opinion, because it's biased, I'd say one of the best in history. The 2015 Broncos beat the Panthers, who were 15-1 coming into the Super Bowl. So I think that, and the only reason they won was because they stopped Cam Newton from being Cam Newton, who was, a clear-cut, a unanimous winner of the MVP that year. So you stopped Cam, who just demolished the Cardinals, who had a respectable defense that year too, as well the game before, 2 weeks prior to that Super Bowl. So I think the defense at this point definitely wins championships. You can take it all the way back to 2013, and this is my last point, just to give you a third example. When my Broncos got demolished by the Seahawks, and this is probably the best example that you're going to get, because you have the number one offense in the history of the NFL statistically against the number one defense for just that year. I mean, they are talked about in the top 10, if not top 5 defenses of all time, if you're talking about this 2013 Seattle Seahawks. But the fact that they demolished and shut down the Broncos like they did in New York that year, you have to give up props to the Seattle Seahawks and to their defense. And, you just got to concede the fact that defense does, in fact, win championships. Debate it, don't debate it, but debate it.
I will debate it. Scotty, you did great on that argument. I give you so much props because I respect you. I know. But anyway, one, I would say Carson Palmer throwing 4 picks derailed the Cardinals in that, not Cam Newton going off. But that feeds into your point about defense, so I'll give you that. That was a good game by the Panthers. And the Cardinals did have a respectable defense that year. But the argument is, does defense win championships in today's NFL? Not did it win it twice in the past decade, which is what you pointed out in the 2 Snorefest Super Bowls the Broncos were in. I will say, the Patriots and Rams, both great offenses, but you did have 2 titans of the NFL industry on the defensive side in Wade Phillips and Bill Belichick going at each other, with an addition of Brian Flores, who did such a good job. He was the second defensive coordinator to go on to be an NFL head coach. But since the Broncos won that Super Bowl, that would probably be the last time a defense wins championships type deal, because Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Falcons and the Eagles, he sets the Super Bowl record. He breaks it against the Eagles, then he breaks against the Falcons, then he breaks it against the Eagles in a loss for passing yards in a Super Bowl. If you go back to the last 3 years in the NFL, 2016, 17, and 18, the six games rather, in the conference championship, 3 AFC, 3 NFC, the average score is 34-22. 56 points per game in those games to decide who goes to the Super Bowl. Last year, who did you have? Jared Goff, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, and Tom Brady. No one would argue against you saying those were 4 of the top 6-7 quarterbacks in the NFL. Should I keep going? 2 years before 2017, you have an Eagles team with Carson Wentz, who was an MVP candidate, then Nick Foles, who sets the world on fire with Frank Reich, and Doug Peterson. Case Keenum with the Vikings laid an egg in that NFC Championship game, but he led them with those 2 great receivers, and he led them all the way to the NFC. Coach Filippo. And then really the only team in the last 3 years is the 2017 Jaguars, who had a dominant defense, and it still didn't win them the AFC Championship game. You could argue to the moon and back about Blake Bortles not being good, but still it's 24-20. And 2016, Vikings, Falcons, Matt Ryan, Packers, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady against Ben Roethlisberger, 2 Hall of Famers. I mean, come on. In today's NFL, it's all about the spreads. That's why Sean McVay, whoever gets him coffee as an assistant, becomes a head coach somewhere, because they think some of that offensive magic from the Sean McVay tree will just branch off to this guy who gets shipped to Green Bay and Cincinnati and elsewhere. Offense is the key to winning championships in the NFL. Done.
Zach, let's go.
Okay, so I love both. I love both your arguments, and there's 2 things that I need to say to preface this, and I'm gonna try to throw out all my biases.
Can I just throw one more thing in? 30 seconds, 10 seconds,
Go
10
ahead.
seconds. You say who's the best defenses of all time? You say the 2015 Broncos. You say the 2013 Seahawks. Those are the 2. Even in the modern era, in the last decade that you even mentioned. You mentioned the 2000 Ravens, you mentioned the 2002 Bucks, the 85 Bears. Everything's ancient history. It's the spread, it's 5 wide, it's offense.
It's not.
Yeah, so that's gonna be part of my preface. So the first preface I have is, and I guess they both tie into each other. Scotty, I feel like you're kind of hamstrung in this argument, but also when I set up this debate, I didn't specifically say anything about today's NFL. I just said, does defense win championship? And I didn't put any time constraint on that. So I'm going to try to factor that into my decision. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm talking about the entire history of the NFL exclusively. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm just talking about the last 10 years. So I want you both to understand that before I go into my decision here, just so you both don't feel like... Wait
a minute. So Shelby got 30 more seconds. Let me say one more thing. So
go ahead. I
got like 10 more seconds. I said 30.
Okay, whatever. Okay, so the Kansas City Chiefs last year is not one of the greatest offenses. So like by your point, they should have made the Super Bowl, right? I get it, Tom Brady and you brought up Bill Belichick being a maverick in the defensive room and being a legend in the defensive room. Yet what he stopped Kansas City Chiefs.
15 seconds now.
He stopped the Kansas City Chiefs.
It went into overtime. It was a 68-point shootout. It was 37-31.
Listen. If I don't cut this off, we're gonna be here for forever. So both of you have very valid arguments. I'm not going to allow history to be a bias. So I'm going to go into Shelby, your pros. Okay. So your biggest pro, obviously today's NFL, but I liked how you talked about the Falcons, Eagles, that whole thing, the 6 games in conference championships recently.
Thank you, Zach.
That stuff, the Goff, Brees, Brady, Mahomes last year. Last year was just nuts, but you also have to factor in, the new rules of the NFL catering to the offense, just because they don't want to end up like baseball. And
I will kill you.
So that's what I have with Shelby. I like what you said. Scotty, Pats Rams, this most recent Super Bowl. Maybe it's recency bias, but I'm throwing that out. I like what you said about that. Broncos Panthers. I like that. And then I also like how you did not have the hubris to ignore Broncos Seahawks, because as a Broncos fan, that has to be the most utterly embarrassing thing to ever happen. And to use that to your advantage,
I barely
respect
remember it because I just put it out of my mind. Like it just act like it didn't happen.
Well, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. But you know what? I'm gonna have to go with Shelby on this one. He brought the facts. He brought the numbers. He really brought it on this one. And as much as I hate to say it, Shelby, you are the victor in this one, and I look forward to all the great debates that we will have in the future of this podcast. Scotty, I hope that you can, kind of
recover,
level the playing field on the next time. Yeah,
maybe you can put this in the memory bank where the Broncos Seahawks was. Quick victory lap. I didn't even get into all the things I had. I just stuck with the NFL because that's what Scotty did. But look at the NBA right now. The Splash Brothers are just raining 3-pointers, not playing any defense. Baseball has the most home runs ever in the history.
The Golden State Warriors, how'd their season end up?
Okay, now Shelby, you're just gloating now, and it's distasteful. It's distasteful.
No, Zach, you already crowned me a winner. Oh yeah, no one thinks the Warriors would have won if they had Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson.
Do they have a ring on their finger?
Yeah, you're right. Oh, 2 in the last 4 years, been to 4 straight conference championships. Yeah, I think that's had to do more with the offense than their defense.
The defense win championships. Like everyone knows that there's no defense in the NBA. This has nothing to do with the discussion. That's why we also just kept it to football. It would also have nothing to do with college football. College football is all offense. There's barely any defense unless you're talking about maybe like Alabama and Clemson, I guess, in the championship.
But Zach read off the prompt and said defense wins championships. And I had more, but since you wanted to stick with the NFL, that was fine with me. All I was saying was that I had
people
more.
say that there's no such thing as a sore winner, but there is.
No one says that because that's exactly what I am.
You are. Okay, so what I meant to say is everyone says that the worst thing is a sore loser, but I disagree with that. The worst thing is a sore winner.
Hey, that was spirited, Scotty. I think we both did very well. All right, so that debate was spirited. It hit different. So now we got to go to other things that hit different for us this week because that's what the streets say. Oh, this hit different. We got a food review that hits different later on, don't we, fellas? Not you, Zach.
Hell yeah, it does. Oh my God, if you're still here, or maybe they've skipped ahead because honestly, the only thing that matters right now is Popeyes Chicken. That's the only thing I think about. But I've got some pretty good hit different of this week. What about you?
Yeah, well, I'll speed it up so Scotty can get to his. My this hit different is free food. We had plenty of free food at the Reds-Padres game. We got great all-you-can-eat seats.
Different.
The next day, I went to the Reds game too. It was Tuesday night. Sonny Gray struck out 10. The Reds got over 11 strikeouts. We got free pizza. Just free food hits different than food you paid for. Fact.
If you have not checked out the free food and the benefits that we got from the Reds game this past Monday, you need to go to our social right now at the Hopeless Fan on Twitter, shameless plug, and watch Zach just kind of hate himself and eat all this food.
Good stuff.
Mine definitely goes into the food aspect as well. So you kind of stole my thunder there. So mine is going to have to be today on my lunch break. I went to Marion's Pizza. I worked, Marion, a little bit of a background. Marion's Pizza, if you aren't from, central, southern Ohio, it's a staple of, Dayton, Ohio, Marion's Pizza. And I worked there for 3 years in high school. So I got so sick of it that I had it maybe once after I stopped working there in 2013. Between 2013 and now, I had it maybe once. And I went back there today, and boy, did that sausage, pepperoni, black olive, it hit different.
Quick story. I went last spring. I went to Marion's for a work meeting, and I had a coworker who had never had it. We went to Mason. He comes back with a small pizza, and it had extra pineapple on it.
Ew! What is he thinking?
I know, it's bad. No longer works with me. I know why.
Hashtag no pineapple on pizza, gang, all day.
Yeah, that's the only bad option that you can get at Marion's. Everything else, even the mushrooms. I'm not a mushroom guy, but whatever the mushrooms that they're using, it hits different even for me.
Scotty, you're my boy. I love you. What hit different for you?
I think that you guys already know this because I sent it to you.
I love you too. Oh, thanks,
Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna move on here. This is pretty awkward. The porcupine hitting the Millie Rock. That hit different because he hit that Millie Rock a little bit different. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it has about 100,000 retweets, close to 200 to 300,000 likes on Twitter. Go to our Twitter, check it out because I definitely retweeted it and put this definitely hits different at the Hopeless Fan. Shameless plug Twitter there.
Okay, yeah, you guys should go check it out because it is something. Even though the guy's Millie Wop was kind of bad.
No, it was that was terrible. That dude had no business. And it's pretty sad when an animal can show up a human with the Millie Rock, but
retweet there. But so that's big in the news right now. Another thing that's always in the news, that's LeBron. He's in the news for everything. You just type in his name, it's probably trending. Obviously on a Tuesday, I'm sure, but we're doing this on a Thursday night. LeBron in the news this week. Stephen A. Smith thinks LeBron should use his clout, all that for a drop of clout. He should use his clout to get Carmelo Anthony on an NBA roster. Thoughts?
I mean, is it really up to LeBron to just steer this man's career?
Right.
Like, I get it. Like, I get it. Like, they're friends and they have all season together. But if as soon as it goes wrong for Carmelo Anthony, it's like this is somehow LeBron's fault, right? Because, like, I mean, I think that's just kind of ridiculous to place blame when it's, I don't think there's any collusion going on. I mean, I know Royce White came out in the news and saying that basically Carmelo Anthony is getting blackballed by the NBA. I just think that, it has nothing to do with LeBron. I mean, I guess LeBron could vouch for Carmelo to come to the Lakers, but who knows if he hasn't already done something like that with the Lakers.
Yeah, and I hate to be the guy to defend LeBron a lot, but I mean, just so it's LeBron's fault that Melo couldn't stick around on a Rockets team that's all about scoring offenses, and it's centered around Mike D'Antoni's system where guards score at will. I don't see why it's LeBron's responsibility to help out his buddy. Like, there's plenty of NBA guys that are buddy-buddy. J.R. Smith probably has a few friends out there. Why isn't anyone trying to get him on a team?
Like, I mean, I also don't see like LeBron vouch, after they had a stint together in Cleveland, I didn't see LeBron vouching for, Dwayne Wade to find his way to LA, or if Chris Paul was a free agent in the same situation, another banana boat brother was in the same situation as Carmelo Anthony. I don't think it's LeBron's job to be like, hey, we should sign Chris Paul, or, to make a public statement like, the NBA is wrong for not signing Chris Paul. And I'm not saying that Carmelo Anthony doesn't deserve to be on a team, because I definitely do think he does. I think he's a Hall of Fame, player, but I don't think it's LeBron's responsibility, to make that choice or to advocate for that, that signing of Carmelo with anyone.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I mean, when we go on in this topic, I'm sure LeBron will be at plenty of NFL games that he always does. He's always on the sidelines, probably at a Browns game with Baker, showing back up in Cleveland, or maybe at the Coliseum cheering on Jared Goff, because he probably has a fantasy team. And if you have a fantasy
or a Dallas game,
that's true,
because he's a Dallas fan. Right?
Yeah, if you have a fantasy team, if you go to an NFL game, you probably have a fantasy team. And if you have a fantasy team, that means you were at an NFL draft, whether it's offline or online. I vouch for offline drafts to get everybody together. It's more fun that way. But we have, as one of our final segments before we do our food review, we have our fantasy football draft stereotypes, because every league has them, whether you're offline or online. And they are annoying, but some of them you got to put your hand up and say, yeah, that's me at some point. So I'm going to start, guys, and then maybe we'll go Scotty and then Zach, where we start with our fantasy football draft stereotypes, someone that's just, it's at every draft no matter what. And I'm going to go with the other league guy. He's the guy that, someone drafts whoever. Someone drafts Christian McCaffrey, and then he immediately raises his hand. Probably doesn't raise his hand. He just speaks over everyone else. Said, I had him in my league last year. I drafted him in 2 leagues this year. He helped me win a fantasy league last year in my other league, in my other work league. I'm like, I don't care about your other league. I never will ask about it openly. I will never say, oh, please, for the love of God, sit me down and tell me how your other league is that isn't even on Yahoo. It's on ESPN or NFL.com, that like you're just in with a bunch of random people that I don't know. I don't care how you did and never will.
Hey, dude, yeah, that's a good pick. I actually have him in my other league. Hey, yeah, man, I really couldn't give a shit.
Right, I'm trying to fill out my roster. I don't care that you somehow scooped up, like, I don't know, someone. Thomas Rawls.
Last year he helped me win the championship. That's really good value, bro. Like, oh, is it, man? Thanks for telling me about your other league.
Yeah, like I don't care that. Oh my gosh, he went like 5th overall in my league. We were like, what were you doing, Smitty? Like, I don't know who Smitty is. I don't want to know who Smitty is. I want to focus on when this snake's back around to me.
Yeah, exactly. You know what another one is when, like, you know, the rounds when you get, you know, down into the 5th or 6th round, or probably more close to the 7th. And I'm a victim of this. I've done it, whatever. Right down in those rounds where you're like, I pick, and I remember specifically, it was 2 years ago, Joe Mixon was a rookie, and I was just like, I picked Joe Mixon, and I was so confident with it because I was like, man, how could, you know, this rookie's going to show out? And they're like, he's already picked, dumbass, you know, and that's my stereotype. That's one of my stereotypes, you know, where the dude picks someone so confidently that's already off the board.
That happens to the best of us, and that's a pretty much a distant cousin to the guy who doesn't bring any research to the draft. He just like has a list on his phone that he can't like X out players' names on, or he's like, Magato in our league. His name's Andrew Magato, call him Mags. He like maybe takes a screenshot of each position, and then he does a Snapchat draw in a line when someone gets drafted because they just have no clue who's on and off the board because they're unprepared. They're unwilling to do the work to make the draft go smoothly, that they think they just drafted Devin Funchess in the 16 when he's the starting receiver.
Yeah, and I hate that. I hate when they do that because they come so unprepared, but then those are the members of the league who end up being, you know, the most like intense about the league. And it's like, dude, I didn't see you giving any shit about the league when we were drafting or put any preparation in. And I guess that's another stereotype. The dudes who always put the prep in and who never, you know, either see the results or complain later about it. And, you know, I'm sure we're all victim to that. Zach, what stereotype do you got written down?
I'm going to have to go with this one. And this is what I would call the Chase Brown of the league, the guy who just comes for the food and but also brings nothing or contributes no monetary value to you know, the host who invested in the food and drinks for the event.
That's a good one. I like that one because that was everybody at Scotty and I's apartment last year.
It really was.
I contributed.
All right, that's fine.
And those people are usually the ones who is another stereotype who are done by week 4 or 5. Who like just stop sending your lineups, and it's like, oh, there's always the one who are the bottom of the league who they lose 2 or 3 and they're 1-3 or 1-4 and then they're done, and then you'll see them with like I don't know. You see Jimmy Garoppolo starting at quarterback when he tore his ACL in week 3. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Right. Another guy that I like or hate at like for the segment, hate for the actual draft is the one who stockpiles handcuffs and then tries to trade you them during the draft. It was a classic like
people do that.
It's a classic like, I have Kareem Hunt. Or like someone has Kareem Hunt, and this guy drafts Spencer Ware, and he's like, "You're gonna want Spencer Ware in case Kareem Hunt goes down." You know that, right? Kareem Hunt got injured last year. You know that, right? Right? You know that?
Oh yeah, I hate those guys. Yeah, the guys who would try to talk you out of a draft pick, the ones who will be like, "Oh, you know that." Like you'll draft someone 2nd overall, and they'll be like, "Are you serious?"
Right.
Like Shelby, you fell victim to this last year, and we were just talking about this the other night. Actually, when I in the 4th round, you know, we play in a 2 QB league again. Let me just for reference, and you know, all the top QBs were taken. So you know, when the 4th or 5th round start to roll around, is when all the second QBs are taken. Maybe late 3rd, you know, but in the top of the 4th, I think I took Patrick Mahomes. And Shelby looks at me and goes, with Derek Carr on the board? And I was just like, hey, man, you know, and I'm pretty sure that worked out pretty well for me. But, I mean, everyone, you know, has a judgment of everyone else's picks until it comes down to it because no one's picks really fucking matter until the end.
That's a tough take for me because no one knew Mahomes was going to go off. And, like, obviously it turned out to be –
It didn't, but I'm still going to call you on it.
Right. It turned out to be the best player in all of our fantasy league when, you know. But you're drafting him as your QB2. Another guy I like is the homer who drafts like deep players on his favorite team that no one else has heard of, and he's like good. Like he sounds smart about it because he has
guilty.
Yeah, I know that was aimed at you because he sounds smart, or he is smart about his own team that no one else will know. The Deshaun Hamiltons of the world, and
Let's go. Good fucking
Yeah,
shout.
and like, so when they're drafting like a fourth string receiver on his favorite team, thinking he's going to break out, and then if he's right about it, then he's like, "See what I mean, guys? A sleeper, I told you." But if like there's no pressure on him because if he doesn't pan out, it's like everyone forgets about it. But it's like a Brown situation. You win, you like they beat you. It's the biggest deal. If they lose, it's like, oh, forget about it. It's the Browns.
Right. I guess I can see where that's coming from. Well, yeah, I picked I picked up Philip Lindsay after week 1 last year, and that actually worked out for the Broncos. And I drafted Monte Ball in like the 4th or 5th round for the Broncos. So I'm definitely a homer to an extent because, well, like, but what extent is that is just like foolishness, but there's also an extent to where like you said, like no one really knows their team more than the guy. So it could be a really good value pick because like these guys are likely guys who are going to be picked up anyway down the line in fantasy football. So if you have them stashed, for week 2, when everyone's picking them up, you've made a good move. But I get it. Like there's a lot of times in which you draft a dude who has no and will never have any meaning in fantasy football.
Yeah, I've got a good one that kind of relates to the homer. So in our fantasy league for the past 3 or 4 years, Shelby, your brother has taken my boy Justin Tucker in absurdly early round just to spite me because he knows that it's not only my favorite kicker, but probably my favorite player on the Ravens currently ever since.
And he's the best kicker.
So,
Zach, do you have a number 9 Tucker jersey?
I do. Yes.
That's amazing. That's so amazing.
So mine is the guy that steals players you clearly express interest in extra early rounds just to spite you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's got to be done. There's no – I mean, all is fair on the fantasy draft board. There's a few other stereotypes you guys want to get into.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like the stats guy who's just gonna follow everyone or every draft board by whoever did the stats early, even preseason, which is like ridiculous to follow because if I follow the stats in preseason, I'd be picking James Washington, who is kind of a sleeper this year actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Be my wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
I mean, James Washington is actually the wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, behind
so he might
Juju.
actually.
And another guy, this is me all the way, is that I'm weary about picking rookies early in the first round. Like, yeah, I bet even when like Zeke came out, I was like, I don't know, he's a rookie. Like
Yes, Saquon last year, I was like I can't do it without stats, some kind of stat, some kind of already recognized prevalence in the league because it's like he could be a buck, and I was like that with Saquon. I was also like that with Kareem Hunt a couple years ago, who ended up being a beast.
The same thing with wide receivers switching teams. I'm like, well, this guy's not throwing to him anymore. How many times with Brandon Cooks, I'm like, Drew Brees isn't throwing to him anymore. It's Brady now. I don't know. Brady throws to tight ends a lot. He can have bad statistical games. Oh, now it's Jared Goff. Right. He might get lost in that system with Cooper Kupp and Todd Gurley in the mix. When receivers go to a different team, I'm like, well, throw out last year's 1,000-yard season. Like, who knows this year? Different quarterback throwing to him.
Right. Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, and I'm going to couple in my last two just together as a quick bit because I know we're running out of time here. You have the guy that takes until probably week 9 or 10 or even the playoffs to pay his dues if you're in a pay league. And then he's usually the same guy who's had the same outdated fantasy themed name for years.
Yeah, thanks for that fantasy football draft stereotype.
How is that not?
Because you said he hasn't paid his dues since week 9, and he has the same name.
Yeah, you're supposed to pay it at the draft.
You're supposed to have your fantasy team name at the draft too, Zach?
I guess not, but I guess your dues you definitely should be paying.
I don't know. I think we've just been going so long. We're like those friends that they stay at each other's house for a week, and by the 6th day, you just want to effing kill someone.
Shelby, yeah, you just called Zach out for walking on eggshells.
Didn't you, Shelby? You and Scotty used to live together, so yeah, absolutely, you know how that feels.
Me and Shelby were actually never.
No, never, not once. So that was our fantasy football draft stereotypes. Your league has them. Our league obviously has them. Send yours to the Hopeless Fan Pod on Twitter. Tell us the most annoying people that are going to be at your draft this year, and good luck in your fantasy drafts and fantasy seasons as this glorious time of year comes up upon us in a couple weeks with the Bears-Packers kicking off. Now we'll get into our food review. Now it's time, guys, for us to grab our wives and head to P.F. Chang's. Not actually P.F. Chang's, but we are going to break down the trend we are going to break down the trend that is just going crazy on social media. That's the Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A. I think it's versus Wendy's too, but we didn't really get into that. But
No, Wendy's just wanted to insert themselves because they think they're social media dominance, where they are, but it's not with Wendy's.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A or Wendy's social media is A+ content. But anyway, it's the main argument is Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had Chick-fil-A a million times, all three of us. So we wanted to get Popeyes to do a little on-air taste test. Zach, in his hometown, it was sold out, so he's on the sidelines just producing this one. And Scotty and I, we've got the sandwich in hand. We're just doing the regular because Scotty also got the spicy.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Are you as excited as I am?
Dude, I'm so excited. I actually, it's Raising Cane's fans. This is kind of different. Yeah, we had to, it's in our podcast bio that we are just, a huge Raising Cane's fan. So I had to mention that, just give them an honorable mention. But I don't think I've ever seen a craze like this. Like where I went into like the Popeyes drive-thru and it was, it was pulled out all the way through almost to the street.
Right.
And maybe when Chipotle brought out that queso sauce.
Yeah, that was kind of big, but not this big still.
The queso sauce also flopped, so I feel like people knew within a couple days, not to really go crazy over. But the reviews say that this Popeyes chicken sandwich is worth the money.
Streets say this is going to be awesome.
Streets have confirmed multiple times that the Popeyes chicken sandwich is the way to go. So I'm ready to dig in. I've got both, and I'm going to try both and give you my analysis here.
Real quick, I was so offended when you tagged me in that tweet today of this guy who just goes around to different fast food places and he's like, the real way to eat Cane's bread. And he just throws whatever bread comes with his meal, he just throws it out the window. And he threw out Cane's bread, and I almost flipped a table. It was bad.
Yeah. What did he do? He did like cracker bread. He like I swear this dude goes to establishments just to get bread and just to throw it out his window.
Zaxby's, Popeyes biscuits, Cracker Barrel. Yeah, everything you can have bread at. But let's get into this, Scotty. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You got the regular sandwich in hand.
Yes, sir.
All right, Zach, why don't you count us down?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's better.
God.
Oh my God, it's better.
That sounds disgusting. Just the sound of you biting into the sandwich.
You think it's better?
Oh my!
Oh God!
No,
eat further away from the microphone. Jesus.
No, I wanted it close.
Ugh. It's that ASMR game.
I just watched you shovel down 8,000 calories and sweat all over the place. You can listen to me do a mic.
You enjoyed that though.
I didn't hate it. Oh man, Scott, how are you on your end?
I'm sorry, my mouth is full. Because I can't stop shoveling it down my throat.
Jesus.
It's like you're not even eating, bro.
Oh, that was drinking.
Yeah. I'm shoveling while you guys are shoveling down chicken. I'm shoveling down Natty Lights.
Nice. Who still buys Natty like recreationally?
Yeah, that is weird.
It's a budgetary choice.
Do you get it delivered to your house?
They do that?
Postmates will probably do it, right?
You said you got all your groceries delivered.
No, I said I had like fast food delivered.
Oh. Scotty, is this better than Chick-fil-A?
Damn, dude. It's really, really close, man.
How are the pickles compared to Chick-fil-A's pickles?
Better. I will say
that's what I've heard.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard. And Scotty, something my brother told me, he gets the spicy chicken sandwich from Popeyes. He said the thing that is the difference maker is the spicy mayo they use on it.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that. I just picked up the spicy chicken sandwich, and there's a different sauce, Shelby, on here. It's like
I almost got both of them.
Damn my God! Here we go. I'm gonna try this one and let you guys know my thoughts.
Zach, you got to go tomorrow early, like on your lunch break or something.
I don't work tomorrow. I have tomorrow off.
All right, we'll have it delivered during lunch.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my God. It is revolutionary, this spicy chicken sandwich. It is so damn good.
There's a reason that there's lines wrapped around all these buildings. My brother, who goes there regularly, he said that they started serving this like a month ago, but it didn't catch on until this Twitter trend. So he's just pissed that it got out, and now he can't go to Popeyes.
Well, it's not going to last.
No, yeah,
they're not going to sell out. Right. Oh my.
Shelby, what do you give a rating for it?
I don't know. It's so damn thick with 2 C's.
I know. It was also only like $3.99 for a sandwich.
Popeyes doesn't know any different way than thick with 2 C's.
Oh man. Out of 10? Out of 10?
Yeah, out of 10.
Mind you guys, I'm eating this cold. I got this at 4 o'clock, and it's 9:15.
Is it still crunchy?
Yeah. I could eat this cold all day.
Wow.
That's amazing. So good.
I think that's the thing that would separate it from the Chick-fil-A is that
so
they make it extra crispy.
And the bun is fluffy, and I think Chick-fil-A gets that little sogginess. Maybe I'm wrong.
But I have the pickles really melt into the Chick-fil-A bun.
Yeah, okay, so here's another thing though too. Like, they are making these around the clock, but the line was out to the road, and it's still good. You would think that like the craftsmanship would be shitty, or like not, the sandwich would be worse because they are making so many at a time. But
absolutely not.
It's not at all. It's so good. It's just as good as if I were to go through Chick-fil-A. I still got some of the spice on my tongue from that. I haven't taken a bite of the spicy in like a couple minutes, and I still feel some spice on my tongue, and it's not bad spice either.
Could I handle it, Scott?
Absolutely. Yep.
No, really? It's not that spicy?
No, it's not that spicy. You could definitely handle it.
I would give it, say, like a 9 out of 10, honestly. Cold.
Shelby, are you one of those people who think that ketchup is spicy?
No, I'm not that crazy. But I am pretty weak when it comes to
what is like too spicy for you? Like, what's the thing that's like super mild that's too spicy?
Well, like I couldn't eat like jalapenos, which I think that's kind of normal. But it's like at B-Dubs, I can only do the medium sauce, and that's like I have to have like a bunch of water with it.
And Joey,
medium, yeah, medium's got a little like so. My wife, for instance, she's the kind of person like there's certain kinds of ketchup that are too spicy for her, like that kind of like if you put pepper in the eggs, she gets upset.
But like I can handle the medium because the wings at B-Dubs because I have so much ranch. But I guarantee if I got like spicy chicken nuggets from Wendy's or something, they'd be too hot.
Wow.
You know what? I've been angry at myself for the longest time of not venturing into spicy foods is the Asian Zing wings at B-Dubs.
I just want to enjoy it. My food.
Yeah,
not have to.
That's true. And I wish they made an Asian Zing sauce that wasn't as spicy as it is, but still the same flavors. But the flavor is so good, but the spice is it's a little too much. But that's the cross that you bear, I guess.
That sandwich smacked. God.
Try the Caribbean jerk at B-Dubs.
Oh my God, it's that and the Thai curry. Oh my God, the Thai curry hits different when it meets the end of its road, if you know what I mean.
I'm giving this Popeyes chicken sandwich a full-on slapped.
Yeah.
Rating.
Yeah.
This sandwich slapped. It's in all honesty, I'll give the original like an 8.7, and I'll give the spicy like a 9.2.
Yeah. So overall, between our two grades for the original, that's like an 8.8, and then the 9.2. So that you gave for the hot. So around a 9.10 average if you combine all three sandwiches we just had.
There you go.
Not a bad look.
No, it's not. I would get it again and again. Would you get it over Chick-fil-A any day?
Yeah, because
it's thicker. It's better, I think.
Dude, so thick. I think it's better than Chick-fil-A. And The one that I went to, the Popeyes, I was the only car in the lot. I think I was so far east in the sticks, they don't have Twitter. So they're like, why is everyone at Popeyes? That's our taste test, guys. Probably our best taking my wife to P.F. Chang's segment we've ever done. Taste-wise, I don't know how it was listening to it on Zach's end, but we thank you for listening to that, and thank you for tuning into our show again. Episode 4 coming at you Monday night. Take care.